welcome everyone on an adventure on riding through the unknown. Thank you for joining us at an earlier time than usual, but I guarantee you, I've been talking with her today and then writing up the tags for this episode. You all are in for a huge treat. I'm not even sure we can get to everything that this guest is capable of talking about, and so I am not going to spare any time, and I'm going to turn it over to my guest to kind of give you a little tidbit of what we're going to be getting into and where she comes from. So I give you the one, the only extraordinary information overload, Sovereign Ki.
Wow. Okay, so I have to say that your introduction is one of the best I've ever seen. It makes me want to talk about everything you put in your intro.
Well, thank you. My cousin did that for me.
Yeah, no, that's I love it. And thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for agreeing to come on.
So yeah, everybody does know me as Sovereign Ki, Loud at Leon. My website, Sovereign Ki. The bio's in there, so everybody can just read it if they're interested. And where to begin?
Well, let's see. Well, one thing that we were talking about when we were talking a little bit behind stage is you are involved in Meta-KI-QINETICS. What exactly is that, and how did you get involved in it?
Well, okay, so Meta-KI-QINETICS is my brand. It's what I call the kind of energy work that I do. So you're dealing with metaphysical energy. Nothing's fixed here. It's kinetics, right? Because we're kinetic beings. We're literally antennas, electricity. We are, this is part of the reason why we're so unlimited in what we can do, but we've been, let's just say, edited to be dormant. So it's all about, activating and reawakening what's been dormant in us, like your junk DNA. It's not junk. So Meta-KI-QINETICS is all about energy. It's all quantum energy, metaphysical, unlimited, kinetic energy.
That makes sense. And so, what is your role, and what's your mission, so to speak, with that?
Well, I think the mission would be just to be an activator of memory for people to remember. It isn't really, whenever you're talking to a prime, a real celestial, you're not telling them something they don't already know. You're just awakening their memory. Because everything here has been designed in such a way to put you and keep you asleep. So that really is what we're doing in this work. We're just bringing to the surface buried memories, buried truth, because we're living literally a lie. What we interface with as reality is a lie, and you've been, in essence, edited to interface with this reality. So we're here to just break all the illusions down, get to the core of your abilities, right? Reverse all of this hacking into your genes, right? That's what poisoning is all about, is to do that and to bring to the surface the true, unlimited history, ability. This is like we're in an infinite state.
And so, what methods have you found for general populace, no matter where they are in the quote awakened stage, not woke, awakened, do you find is most beneficial that people go, oh, this is, yeah, I can see the illusion here now, and I can see this truth now?
So everybody has a specific key a specific frequency that they are. You have to find what that is to be able to break down the illusion. It's not one recipe meets all. Okay. So you're really working with each individual and you're finding the key, the frequencies for them to be able to start breaking down what those illusions are, to perceive it. Because the spells here are very, very good. Like what they do to keep people in a type of coma really is just incredible. It's mind control in every aspect that we live. And you're on autopilot for the majority of the time. So, you want to be able to activate a person's remembrance and then work with them so that they can access the things that have been forgotten. You got to find their key.
So, what was the aha moment that you had where you realized, ooh, everybody's got a key, and that's what we got to find, and how to find it?
So it's interesting because, okay, when I make videos and I give the information, the keys are all kind of there, and as people listen to it, they'll just ignite and they'll go, oh, that's it, right? That's one of their keys, right? So you can do it in that way, or you could do it individually. I mean, how I knew people had keys was like I just knew that when I was a kid because I could perceive things differently. What I looked at wasn't really what everybody else was seeing. So I was like hypersensitive to energy, like to the extreme. So I could even perceive like frequencies coming from them. If I could tune into the energy, it's like isolating a wave, hooking into the wave and actually riding the wave. But when you're overwhelmed by all the energy, we're overwhelmed. It's difficult for people to learn how to isolate those energy streams, right? And each
Right.
of those energy streams will take you to an origin place, right? It's just learning how to perceive reality differently.
Okay, and I know I told you when we started I was going to bring this up. So you actually are at a perfect spot in your story to do it. The age of 9, you wrote a book about the extensive supernatural experiences and awareness of the existence of a dual reality matrix system. How in the
Yeah.
world at age of 9 were you tapped into and so aware of all of that and actually get this book written?
Well, because I came in with a lot of memory and it was protected. When I came in, I was protected so that I wouldn't lose the memory because that's what they do, right? When you come in, when you're born, they like mind wipe you. So you're like back to zero. So some measures were taken so I wouldn't lose all my memory. I might have looked like a 9-year old, but I really wasn't a 9-year old. I was coming in with information and I was coming in to help reveal like the state of reality that we're in and the fact that this is a facsimile copy reality that is a mimic. So I was writing about it at 9 because that was just like, yeah, this is where we are.
That's incredible that you were aware, and were your parents and everybody and your family supportive of this, or were they kind of like, please don't publish this, please don't share this?
Well, my parents were really very knowledgeable about esotericism, secret societies. They were very knowledgeable about the black projects. They had a lot of information. I think the whole family had awareness that we were all in the projects. So, but I did, I guess you could say, They didn't really know what to do with me because they just couldn't like wrap their brain around it, and they just let me do me because they didn't have the capacity to deal with what I was living and the amount of paranormal, the amount of supernatural that happened around me. Even though they experienced a lot of it, they couldn't handle a lot of it. So they were very knowledgeable in a lot of ways, but they couldn't handle a lot of it.
That's understandable in certain terms, but I'm also curious with your awareness and your, realizing how different you were from everybody. I know you kind of talked a little bit about, how it was hard to have friends and everything, but what were some of the major impacts of keeping this awareness and following it, so to speak, through the rabbit holes versus going and living the quote normal life we all were supposed to live as kids?
I don't think I had a chance in hell to live a normal life. I don't think that was an option given to me. Uh, when your life is surrounded by that level of existentialism, supernatural, paranormal, and you're having extreme experiences, you don't get normal. So I really didn't have a choice, but I knew I signed up to come in here to do this. That was the only 100% thing that I knew, was that that was what I was here to do. So the rest really was irrelevant. It wasn't really put in me to chase normal. I don't even think I would even know how. Um, did I have to learn how to become grounded? 100%, because I couldn't stay in my body. Okay. So I had to learn how to be in the body. And then I had to learn like the basics of creating a life with, where you could pay your bills, you could live your life. You were not just suspended in this chaos. That was very challenging, but I did manage to do that, and then created a life for myself. But it wasn't ever going to be like, oh, they have a nice house with a white picket fence and they have the children and it was never going to be that.
And so I'm curious, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, because it could, the way I'm thinking, it could go two ways. Is what made you decide to put everything sort of at risk and come forward and speak out and do like podcast shows, sharing what you know and helping people and doing all this mission work? Was there a moment where you were sitting there and going, if I don't do this, um, they're just going to keep bugging me, so let's just do it? Or how did that unfold?
Well, it was always going to be a part of the package, and I knew that, but I also knew it wasn't going to happen unless I became the living proof. Like, if I could bring this entire supernatural existence into a physical stability, if I could prove that I could bring all of those dimensional realities into a 3D reality where I could be secure, have a life, then I would be well, not really. It wasn't an initiation. It was more like the universe would open its door and put me out because I would be ready. And it was made clear to me, if I couldn't do that in the 3D reality, if I couldn't bring all of those pieces together to create that kind of stability in body, then I wouldn't be a good teacher for anybody, because the proof is in the pudding. And that was made clear. And they told me, you have until this time to do that. And it was very challenging, because I thought, well, what do you mean I have until that time? What happens if I don't get it right? What happens if I don't do it? So, well, luckily for me, did it, 1 year prior to the end date. And then it all opened up. So, but it's true, like they won't, when they set something like this up, you have to be the proof in the pudding for people if you're going to really bring this information out there. You can't be a hypocrite, or you can't be like saying one thing and then you're a totally different thing. And I got that, I understood that. So, but it wasn't really an option for me because that was part of the deal of what I signed up for. And also, if I didn't do it, then no, I probably wouldn't have survived.
Wow. One of the things we were talking about a little bit before we got started too was you talk about creating timelines, density, multi-dimensional realms of existence, and I'm just when I hear that, I'm thinking, wow, I've kind of done a little bit of that on the astral,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never actually created timelines. And so, what goes into creating timelines? Is it as simple as saying, hey, we're now going to be 2022, we're going to go do
No,
this, or.
no, no. Okay, so this goes back to nothing being fixed in reality. The illusion that we have a fixed physics that creates reality is an illusion. Okay, there's nothing fixed here. So when you get with that and you understand, okay, so nothing's fixed here, that means that you literally could brainwash your brain into believing something different and create that, because your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and what it believes. It really legitimately will manifest what it believes. That's why if people manifest a lot of negativity or sickness, they end up getting sick. Nothing is fixed in reality, but your brain, if it genuinely believes something, and this is where I say genuinely, it can't be like, I'm just going to pretend. So if it genuinely does, and you go into that and you create something, or you go back into when you were a child and you change things up, your mitochondria will change to reflect that too. So if your mitochondria can change to reflect that change, then time itself can change. And you've just changed the effects on the lineage, not just timeline. So we have that power and that capacity. But if you've been programmed to believe reality's fixed, then you're fixed in reality. You're not moving out of it.
Right.
So that's kind of, how it begins. And it doesn't matter, like, brainwash yourself to believe something differently. Do whatever it takes to actually, truly, genuinely believe it in the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. The unconscious is what generally creates a lot of stuff here. And, people say, well, like, if I don't know what's in my unconscious or subconscious, then, like, how do I know what I'm creating? So you really got to be able to tap into what's in your subconscious and get to know that, and then program that, right? And the other thing is I don't know if you've ever walked through portals, but I've walked through portals, like legitimately walked through portals and ended up in other places. It's like that. When that happens to you, you're somewhere else. You're legitimately physically somewhere else. So it isn't a question of like, oh, well, is that just my imagination? And did I just like pretend to create that? No, you're somewhere else. It's physical. But just as much as you can walk through a portal and have that happen, you can change your reality. You can change your timeline. You can even learn to bilocate and things like that.
It's interesting you mentioned that because I had an experience last year where I went into a forest, and my friend
Forests.
my friend that um, runs the area unofficially, we dubbed it the haunted forest, or I called it the dimensional forest because as we're walking, I could see and feel dimensions changing and reality changing in this small little area. And where my question is at one point we walked in and he goes, "This is the mirror world of the forest." And I was like, "Okay." And I look up and I literally see the moon dead center and Orion constellation on the right, but I also see Orion's constellation on the left. And I'm like, is this a dimension where I'm seeing two, where there's two of everything? But then I started thinking as you were talking, could I have been in like a little, like what we would call a hallway between dimensions? And I was in that space between.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you definitely walk through a portal there. And I think, I mean, it's very interesting because you saw like the double mirror effect. You saw the mirror reality. And what's interesting is that we're in a projection of a real Earth, right? This is the projected hologram, which
Right.
is the counterfeit copy of the original. And you're like, you've entered a space where now you're seeing the mirror version of the projection. So that's really interesting.
Well, and what's also interesting is I don't share this part very often, but with you having paranormal background, I'm kind of curious what relationship there is to it because near, like, we were at, like, say I'm going up this path. If I turn left, there's this really dark area and it's like a nest of wendigos, cryptids. And
Yep.
if we go, and when we went straight into the right, that's when we went to the mirror. And so I was like, is there a correlation to the fact that these cryptids, wendigos, are near the entrance to the mirror world, but also in a place where I can tell you I saw concrete move to
Mm-hmm.
create the sidewalk because it was originally going off to the right, and then I'd see it straighten out and create the path that we walked when we came in. And so I'm like, yeah,
See,
there's a lot
see,
to this forest.
see, there's forests. My God, forests. Let me tell you, I have had so many experiences in them. But you experience the fact that reality is not fixed. So when and that's you're actually your frequency was spinning at a higher rate for you to perceive that. So you were able to actually perceive that everything here is fluid. It's not fixed. And you actually saw that happening. This reality was fixing itself to align to the program, and you witnessed it. So when your frequency spins at that kind of a higher rate, that's when a lot of crazy things happen. Your perception of that was one of the things, but when you're in that state, you can actually put your hand through matter. You can do a lot of things, right?
It's
Um,
funny you say that because there was spot where you could see branches and everything going across when you put a light on, but when you turn the light off, there's all of a suddenly a path. And we would walk, and he had me go through one of them,
yep,
and I never felt a branch. I never stepped on a twig.
yep.
And I was like, and I would turn the light on, and I would be literally on the other side of these branches
Hmm.
that were blocking the path. And
Yep.
I was like going, I think this is a hologram, is what my mind was saying to make sense out of how this could work this way.
Well, that's incredible you had that because that denotes that. you have the capacity already. And when you get older, this is when it starts dissipating, right? Because the programming really locks in, but it doesn't mean it's not still there. You just have to work with it to bring it back out and to spin the so that the spin rate of your mitochondria goes really high. That's where you access those states. And it is holographic. Because nothing's fixed here, right? The illusion is that everything has a density.
Right. Right.
And but like the Wendigos, what you were saying about, that these cryptids, is there a relationship between why they're on the opposite side of where this portal is? I think a lot of cryptids are coming through portals. I think a lot of cryptids are close by to these areas where, you know, they're not always coming out of them, but they can access a lot of stuff, can access through it. And it is an energetic zone, right? It's not a coincidence that they happen to be there. I think that, I walked through a portal once in a forest, and the moment I realized I had walked through this portal, everything was different about where I was at. Like the path was different, the foliage was different, everything was different. And then I looked to my right, and there was a what looked like a rake cryptid crouched, and it was a little mound right on my right hand side, right after I walked right through this portal, and it looked like it was ready to pounce, right? And could it have gone through that portal and ended up where the normal forest was? Absolutely. Like, is that a coincidence? No. You hear about Sasquatches, and they're utilizing portals a lot. Like, some people have actually caught video footage of that happening. There's a man who is, friends, if you want to say that, with some of these Sasquatches. And, he's told them he won't ever reveal where these portals are because he's witnessed them coming in and out. I think this reality is filled with portals. And it's a wonder to me why we are not hearing tons of cases of people like going through these portals. And you hear a lot of the time people disappear and then they show up in a different time. And there's proof of that. Like, we have some accounts of this happening, right?
Right.
So it's pretty interesting in this reality.
It is. And talking about portals, I had an experience with two different types of portals. One being natural, where the people at this location know of it, but they didn't do anything to create it. And I can go, and I said to the guy that was doing the tour, and he's like, "You look like you could find something." I said, "Well, yeah, I'm pretty good at finding things." He goes, "You can sense energy." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Go see what's in that corner." And so I walked to this back corner behind where these cells are. It was a jail. And I was like, there's this really cold, warm spot. And then it's like, and I realized it's in this certain like space like this big.
Uh
And I'm
huh.
like, that's a portal. There's a portal here because I can feel the energy like whirling. And he
Wow.
goes, yeah, you actually found it. Most people don't. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And then I was in another jail. Don't ask me why. Apparently, paranormal people investigate jails. But this one, the whole night, at the beginning of it, I had this feeling something's watching me. Something is coming after me. And so I'm on like a sensitive edge, like looking around and going, okay, whoever's stalking me, I'm going to get you before you get me because I know you're hunting me, so to speak. Well, I go into this cell by myself, and next thing I know, I'm on the ground of this metal cell, and my head hits, the floor. And I was like, what's going on? Why am I down here? And they took me outside, and they showed me a video. I was literally laying my whole body against the door frame in between these two cells, like an archway, and I was not responsive. They were calling my name. I was like, I was out. And I told a friend, and he goes, "You were in a portal, and you're lucky they pulled you out because you could have been stuck there." And
Stuck.
I was like, how did I
Oh,
not know that portal versus knowing this other portal? And then I realized I'm betting somebody opened that portal and created that portal. So I don't have the ability to sense man made portals. I can only sense natural portals.
that makes sense. Wow.
But
That is, so you're an instrument, like you're, a detector.
apparently,
Hmm.
I'm like a lot of things put into
But
one.
that would mean that you would attract this stuff too, right? That it's attracted to you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a subliminal, message. That's why people like us, it's not always the greatest if we go in for deep into forests, right? Because we're like little, neon lights going, here we are. Yeah, but no, I think you were lucky he got you out. And you didn't even remember. It was like a blackout for you.
Yeah, I was like, I knew I was walking, and then next thing I know, I'm like, why am I looking up? And the strange thing, too, to me is nobody like set me on the floor. I literally, like, he pushed me and my body just fell. And it's like, now that I think about it, I'm like, how did my head not hurt hitting that metal floor? And the rest of my body hurt either. It's like I just got up and shook it off and was like, no big deal.
Hmm.
Like I landed on a mattress or a pillow.
Yeah, yeah, because nothing's fixed here, and something else is operating, right? And you would have probably landed, and it would have probably been like a soft landing, right? Because nothing's fixed.
Yeah.
It's just that we're not aware of what takes over to protect us, right? We don't understand it. Like when I used to levitate, I had no control of how I got down. But I always came down gently. So I didn't just fall, but I had no awareness as to how this was happening and how, like, what was bringing me back down, what was taking me up, right? But
Yeah.
something is there and it's like creating that. So it doesn't surprise me that you didn't get hurt at all.
Yeah. And
I mean, you like think about like these miraculous things that happen where people like fall off buildings and they don't hurt themselves at all. Again, right? Like it's just like supernatural does occur and different
yeah,
laws take effect.
it does. And I found it kind of funny when you were talking about your levitation story that you're all, I don't know how to get down. And my first thought was, how did you get up? I'm like, I would love to be able to get up
I don't
and
know how I
levitate.
got up. I had no control. I don't know what caused it. Like it would just happen. And it was to the point I had this happen at a birthday party. And I was, 12 or something, 11, 12. And I was at a birthday party and suddenly started levitating. And I'm on the ceiling of their house, right? All the kids are screaming, freaking out, running, and just like crying. And I'm on the ceiling and I'm just stuck on the ceiling. And so um, the father of the girl who I was there for her party came with a ladder to try and get me down off the ceiling. So he's up on this ladder and he's trying to pull me down with his might, like all his might. And couldn't do it no matter what. He could not do it. And this was a big man. And he like figured it out. I'm just gonna have to leave you up there. I don't know when you're coming down. Well, I didn't know when I was coming down either. And then suddenly, like after a while, I think I was up there a good 45 minutes to an hour. I just started coming down. But I can't tell you. I don't know what the heck was happening. All I know is that like an energy, a different energy was around me a lot. And I never knew what it was going to do, but the faster my energy spun, the more I knew something's going to happen. Like that was my telltale sign. And I could always feel that energy, right? And sure enough, something would happen. But I really don't know what it was. I don't know what it was that decided to get me down when it would get me down. And that happened quite a bit when I was young.
See, and I find it interesting. I would think from the life that we grew up in and the times that if I was a dad and I'm looking and this kid is on the ceiling and I can't pull down, I'd be on the phone to that family and going, your daughter's on the ceiling, and if you could come and get her, and she's not allowed to come here
Well,
anymore.
no, I was not allowed after that. But the truth is, they were all shocked, right? What do you do? Like, call the
Yeah.
police? You know what I mean? Like, who do you call for that? It's like, you know, we got a situation here. You got your kids on the ceiling. So, but no, after that, they were all freaked out. Like they, wanted nothing to do with me. And this was a repeated theme, right? Like something would happen, people would witness it, and that's it. And that was it.
So I actually have an interesting question, and kind of wondering too if you've ever been asked this way, but all these experiences, like you just naturally going into and not knowing how to come out of, like the levitating
Hmm.
and seeing all the energy and everything. Do you think this was done this way so that you would be prepared for your mission later in life? That all of this was done to teach you to not need to know how, that it just does or
Hmm.
just is?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. It's a good question because if I didn't experience everything I experienced, I wouldn't really understand the nature of reality. I wouldn't understand that nothing's fixed here. And it was almost like if I didn't experience that, then a lot of what I know, I wouldn't know. So I think there was an allowance for that to happen to give me like that was my school, like my quantum metaphysical school of, hey, this is actually, you know, the reality that is here. It's not a fixed 3D reality. It's a super dimensional reality and it's fluid. And anything can happen at any time, just like walking through a portal. And what is holding it all together? Because that was the other question I would ask, right? Well, what is holding this reality together so we are not all like levitating endlessly through the sky or falling through the earth, right? Through the holographic field. What is the energy that holds it all together and gives us all like a fixed sense of reality? So those were all a part of it. But yeah, I do think that it was an allowance to give me the schooling I needed.
And on a deeper level, I've learned recently, like certain events we contracted to have
Mhm.
happen. Do you feel like these were contracted at this time and this place for this experience outcome? Do you think it was all pre-set, sort of?
I think parts were, um, but I think some of us are anomalies. We're like we're like a virus in the computer system, and in that way we're like anomalies. We're energetic anomalies that don't really make sense with the physics around us. So when that happens, I think that there are anomalous events that maybe we're not predestined, that you're like contributing to because what operates around you are different laws. So I think it's a
Interesting.
mix.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, I was thinking of the Matrix, the movies, and the programming that they keep talking about. We're breaking free of the program. And the conversation of Neo with the architect, where the architect is, you're the anomaly. You're the one who's going to cause all of this to restart and everything. And that's the one. And
Right.
I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, wait a minute. Everything that he was doing to become the one, Trinity,
Hmm.
Morpheus, they were doing it too. And I was
Yep.
like, well, why does it have to be Neo? All three of them were doing it. They were doing it all together. And then I liked the last movie where Trinity is the one, and then they both become the one. And I was like, yeah, see, people, the program is not one meaning one.
Right. Yeah.
Multiples can be one.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all one. We're all the one, right? Like all of us.
Yeah.
I don't think I totally agree with you. I don't think it's a, oh, it's just the one over here, or no, I think we all are. So I'm not talking about the backdrop population. I'm not talking about the NPCs. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about all the primes, real celestials. We're all the one, and we're all the anomalies, right? It's
Right.
just that, you know, for whatever reason, if this is what you're here to do and this was what you signed up to do before you came in here, then you're going to be switched on a little more, right? Whereas the nature of the game here, the beast that operates is going to want to keep you asleep. It's there, right? And you need like something to activate your memory, but the design of this is to keep you down, keep you from your memory, keep you from your abilities, make you feel like, oh, everything's your imagination, right? That's like the number one program when you're growing up.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. Is we see in the world where people are waking up or they're choosing not to wake up.
Hmm.
And so, why do you think, you know, a star seed hybrid, for example, that's like, oh, your mission here is to do this,
Hmm.
would go and say, yeah, that's my mission, but screw it, I'm not doing it now. And I'm going to live out my life here. And the rest of us are like, do we then have to pick up that slack of, hey, there was supposed to be one of you here, but hey, you're the closest state. Can you pick up this state and spread out
Hmm.
and cover
Yeah,
the area?
that's a really interesting question, because there's like many things that come to mind with that. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing that somebody decides to say, nah, I'm not playing the game anymore. I'm done, because like the memory is that, hey, I've done this a lot. Okay, I just need to keep coming in and doing this, and I'm done. I'm done
Yeah.
being, playing that recycled game. So, to me, there's a lot of people that get switched on to the reality of what's been going on here for millions of years and say, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. So I'm just going to do my own thing, create my own sphere, my own reality, and I'm out. I don't necessarily think that's bad. I don't think that they're saying they want to be asleep. I just think they're like, I'm not playing this existential, rat race anymore. This like gerbil, thing that keeps going round and round. So are those people choosing to be asleep? No, I don't think they're choosing to be asleep. I think they just aren't playing the game anymore. Some of us just, I mean, okay, I've signed up for this, I clocked in. Okay, it's not an 8-hour shift, it might be an 80-year shift, who knows, right? Like, but it's a shift.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm clocking in and I'm doing it, whatever, and I'll keep with it. Could I go existential and say, nah? Sure, I could, and you wouldn't be wrong for doing it. But my spirit says, like, I can't go existential and opt out, so I just got to do it because that's what feels right to me. But, what feels right to somebody else may still be right. I don't think it's going to diminish the collapse of this simulacrum because a few of us say we're not playing this existential game. I think it's going down. We don't need a lot of us to do this, for it to go down. It's coming down. So it's all okay, really. Like it, and maybe for them, they needed to go existential because they were very well aware that they've been in this rat race for millions of years. But being asleep is a totally different thing. Like, choosing what you said to be asleep, that's way different, right? Than
Yeah.
opting out of the game. And how many really choose to go back to sleep? I don't know of any that choose to go back to sleep once they've started waking up. I mean, I know a lot of people who are asleep and they've been asleep and they stay asleep.
Yeah. I almost feel like once you start waking up, I agree with a lot of people that say once you start the process waking up, you can't go back. And that's like,
Exactly.
and the number one reason is you can't unlearn what you've learned. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, if I know I can walk through walls and I decide I'm not going to live in that reality anymore, it's like you're inevitably going to find yourself walking through walls.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
And because you can't not, because you
Yeah.
know you can.
Yeah. And that is like, you know, you chose to start waking up and you can't reverse that because there's something that happens when you start waking up, and it's a quantum effect. And that quantum effect means that veils are coming down, so you are no longer subject to being put back into slumber. Like, you can't. Those veils are coming down, and you're seeing through the illusions because those. It's like that drug doesn't work on you anymore, so you're not going to be put to sleep.
And I'm curious your thoughts of with the veils getting thinner, the people in like the projects as you
Mm-hmm.
call them, that are waking up and starting to realize. The one thing that I've noticed in talking to them all is there's two factions. There's the faction that says I've woken up and I've broken free, or I've woken up but there is no freedom. You're always in.
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion? Can you break free and be uh,
Okay.
rid of
It's
it, or no?
um okay, I'm only going to speak to like my perception. But
Right.
once you start waking up, your process of awakening doesn't mean you're free. Okay? You're like in a designed simulacrum reality that is by design meant to keep you asleep and to keep you down and to keep you in. And do I think you can get out? Oh, 100%. And do I think we are getting out? 100%. But does that mean that you're free suddenly because you woke up? No, it's a process. It's a process of unlocking because every step of the way that you're in this reality, as long as you're in here, you're coming up against the simulacrum whose design is to keep you asleep and keep you in a reality of lies. So your reality is countering it constantly and its lies every day. And that's a part of that awakening. Like, you have to be in that awakening state through the whole thing until you exit. Then you can exit.
So when you say exit, you're not meaning checking out and transitioning to another
I mean,
existence.
getting out of here. I mean, like, checking out of this reality.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're finished With the recycled factory, you're finished with allowing them to recycle you. You're not going to allow them to recycle you anymore. They're not going to use karma on you anymore because it doesn't work. Karma doesn't work when you don't remember anything. So you're not going to allow it anymore. So when you exit out of here with as much consciousness as you had when you were in here, right? And you're in here in that waking state, constantly fighting against the illusions to keep you asleep, then yes, you can leave, because nothing they try in the factory is going to work. It's not going to work. They can't keep you. So in this way, right? If the force that rules this counterfeit mimic reality can't have access to our prime energy, it can't survive. And that's the whole point of why they created this reality to be what it is, right? So if all of us know this and we live in a very conscious way every day, literally crashing the mirrors of illusions in every aspect around us, and you leave and exit here, whatever, that's through the death gate, whatever, it's just a gate, right? Then you're going to exit, because all their games are not going to work in their little factory of recycling.
I also wonder, though, if, like, say, theoretically, I reach a point in my existence and I'm like, and where I'm aware of, like, super aware, of, like, everything around, and have them, and they walk in to do their thing, and I'm like, yeah, I know you're going to do this, and no, it's not going to have this effect, and no, it's not going to work, and no, neither is it, and start to tell them nothing that they do is going to work. Would they just stop
Yep.
and go, well, then we're writing you off, and
Mm-hmm.
or
Yep.
would they be like, nope, we're going to keep trying, and we're going to find that little niche
Well,
he's
okay,
not aware of?
they're going to try that to find that niche, right? That's why people's experiences when they die are very curtailed to their psyche and what they magnetize to. You're seeing your family, seeing like your idea of whatever your God is. So yeah, I mean, they're going to try and find what is hidden in the niches of your psyche to produce that, to see if you can buy it hook, line, and sinker. But they also know, when we know, there is no there's nothing that they can do, and they have to abide by certain laws of the universe in the dimension that they're operating from. Now they can get around that law if they're in human form, but they're not in that state. They're in their bodily form in that dimension. So they do have to abide by certain universal laws. And if we genuinely say no, we're not doing this anymore, and this is not going to work, and so stop it already, then they have to let you go.
And one thing that's been kind of curious that I've been thinking on is all the things that we're capable of and have been trained to do in projects
Mm.
with altars and everything. If we stand up and say, hey, I'm not in this anymore, do those altars start to expire and are no longer usable? Or do we assimilate all of that information back into ourselves and therefore they can't use the altars?
Well, I think, okay, so this reality is based on contracts of agreement, right?
Right.
Everything. That's why everything is an agreement when you die, like over there. And they're trying to get you to say yes. It's all, but the same with the projects. Ultimately, they have to create an altar that says yes, right? Because they can't work with you when it's a no, because everything in you will stop whatever they're trying to do, and you will use your abilities against them. Okay, I know I have. Um, so, but I think, when you talk about altars and you talk about what's hidden, like altars that are hidden that you don't know about. So as far as you know, they're like, hey, I love doing this. And I'm going to keep doing it. You have to try and bring the altars to the surface. You have to make some communication and some contact, because you need to make sure that they know what you're doing, okay, and that they understand why. And you can do that in various forms. I know I've done a lot of that kind of thing where, there were certain altars that I realized I had when I was in my 20s from the projects. And when I saw like certain things that I would do, I'd be like, that's not me. This is crazy. So I had to really try and bring them to the surface and then work with them to assimilate them. And I think that is ultimately what we need to do. You want them to say no, you need to work consciously with them all. And even if you don't know them all, you can speak to them because they're there, they can listen, they can hear you, and you can say, no, we're not doing this anymore because of blah, blah, blah. Like I know when I, said no and worked on all these contracts to like cancel contracts, I did it on behalf of them as well. And then, I wasn't being used as much. I wasn't just gonna, like, I used to remember being in crazy, crazy scenarios. And I was like, why am I remembering this stuff? Like, it's weird. It's again, right? It's another double reality. You're having all these experiences and yet you're having a 3D life. And you're thinking to yourself, how can you do both? Like, this is crazy. How can I consolidate both realities? Because this one's made to feel to me like it's a fantasy world, right? But you've gone through it. It's no different than when you wake up with marks on your body, okay? Or if you wake up and you've got a hand mark on your body and you're like, where did that come from? I got a big, big, huge hand mark, a print, which has happened to me, and that's real. You just don't have 3D recall of what happened. But you were somewhere, someone put their hand on you, and it's real and it's physical. But I do think you can say no. And I know that the more work I did around that, the less experiences I was having about the projects. Does that mean that they stop watching you and studying you? Oh no, I think they always do. I don't think there's an end date to that. Like, okay, Michael, you don't want to be in the projects anymore, and you've got a hold of your altars, and we're having trouble with them, so you're not operational right now, but we're going to watch you. We're going to watch your DNA. We're going to watch what happens to you and study you. And maybe we might go in and abduct you still here and there and see what's going on with you. Sure, because that's what they do, right? But
Right.
you may not be as active.
And I had a thought, and that's like kind of got like sucked out of my brain. I'm like, wait, no, bring it back. And oh
Is it
man,
about studying you?
no, it was about the altars, I think, and might have been studying. But I love when that happens. I'll just blank, and then I'll be like, it'll come back later. I'm like, thanks, I don't need it now. But when we talk about these altars, and we talk about free will, I kind of wonder, and no, this isn't the question coming to me, but I'm going to ask a different question, and that is, since we have free will in us, and they're copying us to create these altars,
Mm-hmm.
does the free will get copied in? And if an altar says, you know what, you went out, that's great, I don't, so I'm going to continue to operate here, and is that allowed? Or
Well, okay, so how I did it is that I take charge because I'm the sovereign being and I'm the one driving this vehicle. So I'm in charge of them all. And I'm claiming that authority. And that's the authority I stand in. So that's how I did it. and it, worked. I mean, I used to be in a lot of missions, and it was constant. I was constantly having memories and things, and really, when I took that authority on, it wasn't like, oh, I'm in my third. It wasn't like, it was like, no, you don't have a choice. Boom, right? Then it changed it. Okay, but my question to you is, free will is a funny thing in this simulacrum reality. Okay, I mean, do we have free will in this simulacrum reality, or do we have to operate and access like our real spirit body, our real body outside of this all, and bring that through here, because we really don't have a lot of free will here? So we have to override it in some way outside of this matrix.
Well, I used to think we had a lot more free will, but then I was introduced to the concept of soul contracts that were made before we were born and don't have any knowledge of. And so I'm like, now I go, well, how much of what we're experiencing is free will versus fulfilling contracts? And so therefore, I don't know, I don't know if we have free will anymore, or if we ever had free will, because
We're not in the right reality.
Unknown number of soul contracts, every second of our life could be one contract to another contract to another contract. And we're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm freely learning this, and you find out, nope, that was prearranged, and that was prearranged, and that was prearranged.
But what about, so up the ante, okay? Because it's not just soul contracts. You're inside, okay, a counterfeit holographic matrix reality that is a facsimile copy of the original. You are not in the original. You are in the facsimile copy. And the energy, or the logi that runs this all, the machine god that runs this all, has created this reality to keep us in here. So up the ante with, like, not just contracts. Maybe there is no free will here because of the logi that runs this, because of the, whatever you want to call it, demiurgic force, the aeon, whatever it is that runs this holographic reality that is designed to be a prison farm, that it's really not going to allow you to have free will.
Right.
So
I just thought of another question, and another theory is, they look at people who are gifted in starseed or tapped into other things. And so I wonder, being like hybrid starseed, and then they split you and create alters. Is that starseed part of you then copied as well and utilized, or is that uniquely accessible only to you because you have, like you point out, the key to activate it? So they're only really getting part of us, not the whole of us.
Oh yeah, I think they copy, but I don't think they can get the whole of us. Like you said, I think they can copy, but the copies they make are not like the full spectrum. And that's why there's a lot of issues with the copies, right? And also, just to back up, do I believe that we can access our true free will that's outside of the matrix? Yes, this is what I'm saying. We got to go outside of this all and really connect to our true being outside this all. But in terms of the copies, I don't know. I don't think they can actually truly copy the prime template. I think it's impossible. I think they are trying to figure that out. I don't think they've been successful. I think they partially can copy, but it's it is kind of full of bugs, if you will, like,
Yeah. The reason I ask that is I've often wondered on missions, when we're going against factions and those factions have a copy of you.
Hmm.
If you were to ever go face to face with yourself, are you going face to face with your true self, or are you only going face to face with?
Oh, Michael? I think I've lost you. You froze. Okay, I don't. I'll just answer the question. I know you're frozen, but hopefully you'll come back online. Um, I don't think you're coming face to face with the real you. I think it's a copy, but the copy's going to want to convince you that it's real. So I think you're going to have a face off.
There we go.
There we go.
My
So,
internet just suddenly just decided to quit.
and when you were frozen, I was like, okay, well, I'll answer the question anyway. So while we wait for you to come back online, I don't think you're having a face off with the real you. Okay, in that situation, I think you're having a face off with the copy, who is programmed to believe everything is like original. So they're going to believe that they're original, but I don't think it is, and I don't think you're going to come up against another you. I think it's just a copy.
Yeah, and the part that I was saying when I cut out was, do we always have the upper hand because we access the full, not a partial?
We always have the upper hand, but we're fighting the program, right? And the program
Right.
is like this massive spell that can put you under and keep you in like stasis. So if you can get out of that, if you can get out of the tools and the techniques that they use to keep you asleep and to keep you fractured and fragmented or disassociated, then you have a yeah, you have the upper hand. I remember having experiences where I was like, you know what? They're utilizing all our metaphysical abilities, and they're trying to keep us from our own metaphysical abilities in the 3D waking world so that they access them and we can't, right? And that's kind of how they do it. And I remember like waking up once and they were doing like terrible things, and I started using my ability against them. And then I told myself, like, that's it. Like, when I come back through here, I'm accessing that. Like, I'm taking it back. So, you got to know that they use your abilities, but don't want you accessing them. But yeah, you
Yeah.
have the upper hand.
Well, some of them I think it's probably better that we don't have here, like
Yeah.
psionics, because could you imagine
Mm,
having psionics and you get emotional and you're like, why? And you
yeah.
flash, and you're like, oops, didn't mean to wipe you out of
Yeah.
existence. Sorry, my
Well,
bad.
and if you're witnessed having these things, right, they'll just pick you up and take you underground. That's the other thing. Like, if you're too obvious above ground with these abilities, they will come and take you.
Yeah. And I'm kind of last question because I know we're getting close to the time. And this is more, I'm just curious your thoughts on. I'm not looking for a definitive answer, but I know the ETs or Starbeams, some of them have SSP projects. We have SSP projects here. Then I start to look at Inner Earth and I'm like, does Inner Earth have SSP projects? And do all three of these projects kind of work in tandem, or are all three like really factions and we're in a triad out there and everybody's doing their own thing?
I think that they were definitely working with us over time, and they were doing that for a long time. And I think there was a breaking point where things were getting kind of out of control, and they stopped. Um, so I think up until that point, they were definitely in alliance and working they had their projects and they had their people coming in, and some of us were going in there too. I know that the doors shut down for a while because we were heading into very dangerous territory with our decisions. And they told me, like, we're closing, we're sealing the door, like, giving you all the warnings you need, and we're gonna wait until a set period of time to see what you do, right? Do I believe that there are, let's say, civilizations over the ice wall that are still working in some way, shape, or form, or maybe in Antarctica underground there with the secret military? Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. So, but like you said, right? It's an umbrella academy of unlimited factions.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
So we have like 3 minutes left, 2-3 minutes. Where can people find your book if it's available, and where can people get a hold of you if they want to do work with you?
Okay, so the book's not available. I mean, this was 50 million years ago. um, So my website is sovereignki.com. So sovereignki.com, and my YouTube, Sovereign Ki, my Rumble, Odyssey, all that is always going to be under Sovereign Ki. And on my website, my email is there. If you want to connect with me for sessions or whatnot, two different emails. They're on my website. It's Sovereign Keys, KEES at gmail.com, or it's Meta-KI-QINETICS. But they can find all that info on my website.
Okay.
Sovereignki.com. Yes. But no, the book is not available anymore. It's been a long time. Many years.
You should bring it back.
many eons from there.
It would be interesting to have it reprinted and then follow up with another story that says,
Well, I mean, I've been
"Oh, this was
trying.
this, and now we're doing this."
I've been trying to finish the book I'm working on now. It's just it's hard doing it all, right? Like running your business and doing the YouTube and doing it all solo. It's pretty challenging. And then trying to get the book done is, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
I went ahead and put your website and your Odyssey down
Great.
here, and other as avenues are available in the bio. So
Yeah, it's all there.
well, thank you, and I'm just curious before we go if there's anything you want to share with the audience.
No, I just thank you for having me on, and thank you for everybody being here. It's been a real pleasure. I'd love to hear more of your encounters. That would be really cool, actually.
Well, we'll have to do that on episode 2 or 3.
Sounds good.
Well, so thank you for coming on and trusting in our mutual friend and
Yeah.
in me to come on. And yes, I do hope you come back and that we do have more episodes. And I'm hopeful that the future is going to be one that is our choosing individually and not under the mass. Because I feel like we're kind of outvoted by the NPCs.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. But one prime, right? Like you can have 1,000 NPCs and one prime, and that's one prime is greater than. So really, our ability is exponential. Got to remember that.
So do the math, everybody, and if you're a prime, please opt in if you wouldn't mind, but choice is yours, and I respect that. And I even said in one of my books, it's like, you can choose to do shadow work or you can choose not to. The choice is yours. There is no right and wrong answer.
Yeah, true. It's true.
Well, I actually have a message for you, and that is from my heart and the heart of my show to you. Thank you for what you're
Oh.
doing for humanity. It's seen, heard, and felt so appreciated. So thank you.
Aw, that's so nice. Thank you. It's beautiful. That's it's the moments like that that you go, okay, it's worth it. Yay! Like onward for another day.
Well, I'm glad I could do that for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And so thank you to everybody that's watching, and we will be back next week with more episodes. So make sure you like, subscribe, and follow along because you never know when Sovereign Ki will be making a return visit. And I'm also going to put up a QR code for those of you who are watching. I don't get paid for this. My guests don't get paid for this. And so if you would like to see shows like these to continue, please not only like and comment on the videos, but feel free to scan the QR code, and any donation is super appreciated and will go 100% into keeping the shows going. I don't use donation money for anything else, so I'm one of those rare donation companies that 100% goes to what it goes to. There's no administrative fees. Although technically I'm the administrator,
Well,
so
you're
I'm
the
sure there is.
administrator.
But it's all one source. It's not being
Yeah,
divvied out amongst everybody.
yeah.
So it all goes into the show. So thank you to everybody, and thank you again to our wonderful guest. So appreciate it. And we will call it a night. Good night, everyone.
Night. Thank you.